Hey guys, this is going to be part of the bug out fire making videos, um, and some of the stuff I wanted to sort of stress on here. I will put a link up on the side. I did do a ultralight fire making, where I sort of went through the weights of a couple, versions of fire making tools. But one of the things I really want to stress is long-term use, is the best way I can describe it. I don't think, as much as I love them, that I would ever carry matches. That I would ever carry, a butane lighter that I would have to carry fuel for. The thousands of fires that I can get out of a mesh metal rod, or that I can get out of my Strike Force, which you can see is well used, going on about a year plus now. And this is my primary fire lighting tool. This is a year worth of fire lighting. And no, I'm not using it every day. And if you were in a bug out situation, you should be able to get your fire going and keep it going unless you're on the move. But that goes into my next one. You gotta have natural, replaceable resources. Here in the Northwest, we can't use this all the time. Fresnel lens is amazing. The larger the better, of course. I think this is a very manageable size. It weighs nothing. I would carry that, even though I don't use it that much here in the Northwest, because it'll never run out as long as there's sunshine. Easy enough to ditch. Now maybe matches would be something that you'd want to bring to barter with. I bought these years ago. Every once in a while I'll see them on sale and I'll just buy them, just because I'm a prepper and that's just my second nature. But you know what? They're all completely stacked full, just as much as they were the day that I got them. I never use matches, because every time I go to make a fire, I want to practice my skills. Whether that's bow drill, whether that's even in the winter using a ferro rod, mesh metal, no matter what it is, I'm always striving to use these materials. I just believe that the practice is better than, just making a fire. The ability to process firewood, and large amounts of firewood. I don't have my saw in front of me, but if you can't process large amount of firewood, then you can't build a proper shelter. You can't keep yourself in enough fire to keep you warm. Now, if you're traveling a lot, you're just going to use the resources locally towards your camp. But if you're going to stay in a certain area for a lengthy amount of time, you're going to need a lot of firewood. And, a little Mora is not going to cut it. The amount of firewood you need is really, it's astronomical. If you've ever lived in a house or cabin that needs 2 or 3 cords of wood, a pickup load is about a cord and a half of wood. So imagine, 2 or 3 pickup loads of wood, and that's stacked up to the cabin, that you're going to be processing to get you through the winter. And if it's some sort of crazy world event where winter lasts year round, then you're going to be in trouble. So I want you to think about the ability to do that, and I also want you to, everyone has their own systems. Some people are saw guys, some guys are axe guys. I will tell you that if you're in a stealth situation, you're probably not going to want to be chopping with an axe, let alone a chainsaw. In a bug out vehicle, I do think a chainsaw would be a great utility to have. If you're going up a dead end road, you can easily block the road behind you. But chainsaws require fuel. They require oil and fuel. They're noisy, so they're not ideal. And certainly you wouldn't carry one around with you. But in your bug out vehicle, and you've seen in some of the pictures I gave you, there are tons of times where you're trying to get to point B and the road is impassable due to fallen trees. A lot of the 4-wheel drive local clubs up here, they spend a good part of the spring clearing trails, moving logs, cutting down trees that fell during the winter. And if you need to get to point B, and you got to get through those trees, you're not going to do it through a little cheesy saw. You're going to want a chainsaw. The other part of being stealth camping is obviously you've got smoke, so make sure you're burning a smokeless fire. If we're in a situation where, heaven forbid, you're running from our own military, you're sort of, out of luck anyway. But watch your IR signature, your infrared. You're not going to want a huge fire. If you do, you want to cover it with something. You don't want to be radiating a lot of heat, unless you're underneath several layers of tarps or something. Will hide your heat pretty well. Also for tracking purposes, you'll see that my cooking stove that I am going to pick here in the next video, you're able to keep even your wood burning ashes off the ground. So if you want to be the leave no trace type of guy, that's fine. My leave no trace involves nobody being able to track where I was the night before, not leaving food wrappers and stuff there. If they're tracking with dogs, you're probably out of luck anyway. That's a little bit more difficult to evade. And the other thing is, if you're in a hot spot and you're not worried about the heat signature or the smoke, still being able to smother your fire quickly with maybe like a wet wool blanket, that's not going to emit too much steam or too much smoke, but will distinguish your fire quick enough so that you can get out of there. My main reason behind this is part of this will go into shelter building because you're going to need tools. Tools are something you can't replicate in nature. Things that you're going to need to carry with you. And I'd rather take the weight of an axe over bringing a bunch of lighters or backup Zippo fluid or, matches, unless you're thinking in your head ahead of time that you're going to use those to barter with people. Now, these would make a great bartering item if it's cold out and people can't get a fire started. This is gold. So decide what you want. It's going to be personal preference. This is the reason I did all these videos this way. I want to try and give you guys each sides of the argument. Decide what scenario is the one that you are most worried about and plan for that. If you're worried about economic collapse, you're probably going to not need an axe. If you're bugging in or something like that. There are tons of every scenario. Decide which one is the one that keeps you up at night and plan for it. But for me, I want something that's going to last thousands of times, that isn't going to run out, that I'm not carrying backup fuel for, and just useless weight. That's my take on it. But let's see what you guys decide.